Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu fulfills promise as rehabilitation begins at East-West Road. NAV receives 2 additional aircrafts. Plus, Titanic submersible debris. Human remains recovered. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight, President Bola Tinubu has fulfilled the promise he made to the River State stakeholders to rehabilitate the deplorable section of the element axis of the East-West Road. Recall that critical stakeholders from the state, led by Rivers Governor Siminalayi Fubara and the Minister of Federal Capital Territory FCT Nyesom Wike, had during their September 14 visit to President Tinubu at Aso Rock demanded, among other things, the rehabilitation of the road. Fubara had argued that fixing the road would enable easy lifting of petroleum products after the completion of the ongoing turnaround maintenance of the Port Harcourt refinery, which is located along the road corridor. The Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, also assessed the section of the road, which had become a death trap to commuters and motorists, and promised to fix it. It was gathered that the contractors were already mobilized to the site and had commenced massive construction work along the road. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has directed an immediate action plan to halt the impending flood crisis nationwide. The Senior Special Assistant to the President in Media and Communications Office of the Vice President, Stanley Nkwocha, disclosed this in a statement. According to the statement, Tinubu, represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, made the charge during an emergency meeting at Aso Villa in Abuja. The President set up a committee to be headed by Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, with a 7-day timeline to deliver a report. Shettima noted that a feasible roadmap would address the flood crisis in Nigeria, adding that responsibilities would be shouldered by the Northeast Development Commission (NEDC), Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC), and the federal government. In another development, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has asked President Bola Tinubu to mount the stage and address Nigerians on his true identity. Obi said this during a press conference today in Abuja on the heels of Tinubu's certificate from Chicago State University released to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Away from that, the federal government is set to partially commercialize the dams under the nation's 12 river basins to enable them deliver their mandates effectively. The Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Otsev, disclosed this while speaking to newsmen shortly after inspecting Tiga Dam in Bebeji local government area of Kano State. The minister said the commercialization of the basins would enable them generate increased revenues for the federal government, and he assured that the huge infrastructure available at the basins would guarantee a return on investments. He explained that the exercise would ensure sustainable operations and management of their infrastructure. In a separate development, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has urged the National Broadcasting Company (NBC) to engage stakeholders in its operations to check violations of the Broadcasting Code. Idris made the call during a one-day working visit to the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. He stated the need to change the erroneous narrative that NBC was synonymous with sanctions and fines, noting that the current moves to change the act establishing the NBC and the National Assembly were commendable. The minister expressed satisfaction with the efforts the Commission was making to host the Africast later in the month. Now to the Red Chambers, where the Senate has embarked on amendment of National Social Investment Program Agency Act (NCIP-A) 2023, aimed at moving the agency from Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation to the Presidency. The leader of the Senate, Senator Payami Bamidele, initiated the bill at the plenary on Tuesday, seeking to amend the National Social Investment Program Agency Act 2023. According to Bamidele, the bill seeks to amend sections 9 subsection 3, 14 subsection 1, 21 subsection 1, 22 subsection 1, 26 subsection 1 and 33 of the NCIP-A Act 2023 by transferring the agency from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation to the Presidency. The Senate leader added that the bill will be directly under the direct supervision of the President. He further explained its significance to poverty alleviation and social inclusion, saying the plan to amend the NCIP-A Act 2023 is to ensure that the social investment programs are standard, transparent, effective, and accountable. In the meantime, the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, has called for deeper collaborations between Nigeria and the United States. He made a call while addressing a delegation from the American Embassy in Nigeria, led by the Charge d'Affaires, David Green. While noting the role of the United States in entrenching democracy and democratic values across the world, Akpabio urged America not to be tired of playing the big brother role. Meanwhile, Green disclosed that his team was seeking collaborative efforts with the Nigerian Senate on multiple fronts. Still from the Red Chambers, the Senate has called for more military presence in Niger State following the incessant banditry attacks and insecurity in the state. The Senate also raised the alarm over an impending food crisis if the current alarming insecurity situation was not immediately checked. The Red Chamber stated this while deliberating on a motion by the senator representing Niger East Senatorial District, Sani Musa. The senators, in their various contributions, unanimously noted that the development could negatively affect the food sufficiency and economic diversification policy of the federal government. The Senate therefore urged the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, and the Inspector General of Police to immediately deploy troops to defend the unarmed populace and bring back security to the affected communities. It further directed the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and the National Emergency Management Agency to, as a matter of national emergency, provide relief materials and a medical support team to victims immediately. Moving on now to the Green Chambers, where the use of the US dollar and other foreign currencies as legal tender for domestic transactions in Nigeria is under probe, according to a Tuesday order from the House of Representatives sent to the Committee on Banking Regulation. The House of Representatives also urged the Central Bank of Nigeria to address Naira's depreciating value in relation to the dollar and other currencies. The House requested the CBN to alter monetary policy to stabilize the Naira, address speculative activity on the foreign exchange market, and raise the Naira's withdrawal cap to lessen pressure on dollars and other foreign currencies. It also asked the federal government to develop structural changes and measures to fight corruption and advance the nation's economy's diversification. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives today honored the late Sokoto lawmaker Abdul Qadir Dangbuga by adjourning the House early. The Deputy Speaker adjourned the House after a brief tribute in honor of the lawmaker. It will be recalled that the 63-year-old lawmaker Dangbuga passed away in the early hours of today. Ahmad Kalambina announced the death of Dangbuga in a letter addressed to the House. In security matters, the Nigeria Air Force has received 2 additional Diamond 62 aircraft as part of its efforts to intensify ongoing air operations against insecurity in the country. The new aircraft were received at a ceremony held in Ilorin, Kwara State. This was contained in a statement issued by the Director of Public Relations and Information (NAF), Air Commodore Edward Gapquet. In his remarks during the ceremony, the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, noted that the process that culminated in the arrival of the 2 additional aircrafts began about 2 years ago, when the federal government appropriated funds for the acquisition of 4 Diamond 62 aircraft for the NAF. In education, the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) has expressed worry over some corps members who travel without approval. The Yobe State NYSC coordinator Hafsat Yarima made the position of the scheme known in an address delivered at the opening of the Corps Employers Workshop in Gashua Town today. The state coordinator said the attention of the NYSC management was drawn to the increasing cases of corps members traveling without approval from the appropriate authorities. Speaking on corps members' welfare, Yarima implored employers to appreciate their services by providing them with permanent employment after their service year, irrespective of their states of origin. She added that it will go a long way in encouraging socio-economic growth and mobility of labor as a strategy for national integration. Meanwhile, the Federal Capital Territory Administration (FCTA) has closed 2 private schools for operating below minimum standard in the FCT. The affected schools are Erudite Bright Kids at Kagini and Jane's Angela School in Abuja Municipal Area Council. The schools were closed during an operation to close all substandard schools operating in the FCT. The Mandate Secretary, Education Secretariat, FCTA, Dr. Danlami Hayo, who led the team in Abuja, explained that the measure was to ensure quality of teaching and learning in FCT schools. Hayo said that the move was in line with the mandate of the Department of Quality Assurance, charged with the core responsibility of proper accreditation of schools, monitoring and inspection. This, according to him, is to ensure quality educational services, compliance to requirements for the establishment of schools, and enforcement of minimum standards as stipulated in the operational guidelines for schools. He called on the National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools (NAPS) to enlighten their members on minimum standards and the need to key into the FCT administration educational policies. Still in education, the National Examinations Council (NECO) has disclosed that 93 schools were found to be involved in whole school mass cheating, while 52 supervisors were recommended for blacklisting due to poor supervision, aiding and abetting during the examinations. The Registrar and Chief Executive Officer of NECO, Professor Dantani Wushishi, disclosed this while announcing the release of the examination results. Wushishi said the erring schools would be invited to the council for discussion, after which appropriate sanctions would be applied. According to him, 1,196,985 candidates representing 616,398 males and 580,587 females sat the examinations, adding that 1,543 candidates with special needs also sat the examinations. Moving on now, Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State has taken a compassionate step to assist 66 students from the state evacuated from war-torn Sudan. The students, sponsored by the state government, were evacuated from Sudan due to the ongoing war. A statement by the spokesperson to the governor, Suleiman Bala Idris, noted that on Monday, the Commissioner for Education briefed members of the State Executive Council on the intervention of the government. He added that 14 out of the 66 students who were studying nursing could not take their final exams due to the war in Sudan. Elsewhere, the Lagos State government has said it had concluded arrangements for the forthcoming Basic Education Certificate Examination (BECE) reset at designated centers across the state. Public Affairs Officer, Lagos State Examination Board Fatai Bakare told newsmen in Lagos that the reset was organized for students who failed mathematics and English language at the first sitting. According to him, adequate provisions have been made in terms of furniture to avoid cheating during the examination. Bakare said the examination would commence at about 9 a.m. and advised candidates to make themselves available at centers allocated to them. He added that lateness to the venues of the examination would not be tolerated. To Abia State now, where Governor Alex Otti would tomorrow, Thursday, flag off the reconstruction of the dilapidated Port Harcourt Road. Aba Commissioner for Information Prince OK Kanu, who disclosed this today during a press briefing after the State Executive Council meeting in Umuahia, said that the 6.3 kilometers road was awarded to a major construction firm in the country, Julius Berger. He recalled that the economic importance of the road, which had totally collapsed and virtually inaccessible for over 15 years, made Governor Otti bring the managing director of Julius Berger to the road for evaluation shortly after his emergence as governor. The commissioner said that the arrival of the equipment of the construction firm ahead of Thursday's official flag-off had triggered wide jubilation in Aba. According to reports, this would be the first time Julius Berger or any known grade A construction firm would be engaged by the Abia State government for road construction project. Back here, as International Day of the Girl Child is celebrated today with the theme Invest in Girls' Rights, Our Leadership, Our Well-Being. Women in Uyo have called for government and private collaboration and girl-child investment. Speaking with Spectrum Television, they talked on the significance of the theme and how a proper investment in girl-child education will empower and make them more valuable in the society. They advocated for equal treatments of girl-child and women in the family, workplace, and the society at large.
Investing in the girl child. The theme is very apt. It's good because the girl child should know the rights that she has, and the environment, the society. The girl child should also be made to know that she has these rights, and the environment and society should also, the family, everybody should also invest in ensuring that the girl child rights are preserved. It is very important to educate the girl child because if the girl child is ignorant, there are a lot of things that will go wrong in the society. The girl child has to be educated to be able to compete favorably.
In our societies today, women are like topping industries. For example, we have Okonjo Iweala. She's great. We have Chima, Amanda, Dichi, and we have many others. When they look at a female lawyer, they'll be like, no. Let's give her something less, like pay less compared to paying the male lawyer. I think the discrimination is still prevalent today in today's society, and I don't think that is proper. I don't think that is fair.
Education is very, very important in the life of a girl child because it helps them grow well and fit into the society properly. It helps people respect them. It makes them of value to the society.
A girl child is a blessing to the society. A girl child is a friend, a sister, a daughter, and a mother. And you find out that in the society, they are yet to be respected. They are abused physically and mentally. And I feel that if the world should see the relevance and the need to invest in the girl child, we would understand the gift that God has given the girl child to Mother Earth. So it is important to invest in the girl child because there is this saying that when you train a woman, you train the nation. So we need to see the importance of a girl child and invest in her, because if you do so, you would not regret it. The society will be a better.
The International Day of the Girl Child is marked annually on October 11 to raise awareness on the need to address the challenges girls face and to promote girls' empowerment as well as fulfillment of their human rights. Still to come in the news. Global oil prices sink by 3%. Let's stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Many thanks for staying tuned. We move on now to Africa, where the UN Human Rights Council voted today to set up an independent fact-finding mission to probe alleged rights abuses in Sudan's brutal fighting. The draft resolution was only narrowly passed, with Sudan fuming at the plan. The 47-member council decided by 19 votes to 16 in favor of setting up the probe, with 12 countries abstaining. Countries backing the resolution included Argentina, Britain, France, Germany, Mexico, Ukraine, and the United States. China, Malaysia, Pakistan, the United Arab Emirates, and Sudan itself voted against the proposal. India and South Africa abstained. Recall that the fighting in Sudan broke out on April 15. The army, led by Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, has been battling the paramilitary rapid support forces commanded by his former deputy Mohammed Hamdan Daglo after the two fell out in a power struggle. According to a conservative estimate by the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, more than 9,000 people have been killed in the conflict so far. And while Mali's interim president and Russian President Vladimir Putin have discussed economic and security cooperation during a phone call. This was echoed by Russia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The two leaders reaffirmed their mutual commitment to further enhance trade and economic relations, cooperation, assistance provided by Russia. According to reports, this is the third phone conversation between the two leaders in months. Russian mercenaries from the Wagner Group are playing a prominent role in the Malian army's ongoing offensive against Tuareg ex-rebels in the town of Kidal, including the army's capture of the strategic town of Anafis on 6 October after days of heavy fighting. In a related development, Mali's ruling junta has cancelled the authorization given to Air France to resume flights to the country. The announcement came a day after Air France announced the resumption of flights from Friday after suspending them on August 7 following the coup in neighboring Niger. According to reports, Mali's director of civil aviation had been dismissed without saying on what grounds. Recall that Air France had announced on Tuesday that it would resume service with a plane and crews from a third-party company. In the meantime, Niger's post-coup military rulers have demanded in a statement seen by newsmen today that the United Nations coordinator in the West African country leave Niger within 72 hours. The foreign ministry said in a statement that the government had ordered Louise Arben, the UN's resident and humanitarian coordinator, to take all necessary measures to leave Niamey within 72 hours. Reports say Bakary Yo Sangare, who before the coup was Niger's ambassador to the UN and is now its foreign minister, was the new leader's chosen representative for the gathering. But according to a diplomatic source, there was also an application by the overthrown government to represent Niamey. And well, because of the competing credentials, the matter was deferred and no representative from Niger was added to the speaker's list. So in Africa, Burundi's recently dismissed central bank governor Dieudonné Merengarantieri has been allegedly arrested on allegations of corruption. Reports say Merengarantieri is accused by the Justice Ministry of undermining the proper functioning of the national economic, passive corruption, money laundering and misappropriation of public assets. The Attorney General, Leonard Manirakiza, said the charges against the former central bank governor are not final and the investigation is still ongoing. He also said Merengarantieri is being treated in accordance with the law while he remains in custody. Meanwhile, King Charles will acknowledge the painful aspects of the UK's history with Kenya when he makes a state visit to the East African country next month. According to reports, he will be joined by Camilla when he flies to Kenya following an invitation from President William Ruto, whose country is celebrating the 60th anniversary of its independence from Britain. Kenya won independence from the UK in 1963, and the two nations have enjoyed a close relationship since. Meanwhile, all members of parliament from Zimbabwe's main opposition party have been suspended for 6 parliament sittings and will not receive salaries for the next 2 months. Speaker Jacob Mudenda made the call after the Citizens Coalition for Change, CCC, held protests in parliament saying 15 of its MPs had been tricked into losing their seats. It would be recalled that on Monday, a man pretending to be the CCC's Secretary General wrote a letter to Speaker claiming the 15 MPs were no longer party members. Elsewhere, 3 survivors and 4 relatives of the victims of a terrorist attack in Mozambique have sued the French multinational oil company Total Energies. The survivors and relatives, who are British and South African, are accusing Total of involuntary manslaughter and negligence for failing to protect its subcontractors. Reports say dozens of people, including Total Energy's subcontractors, were killed in March 2021 when Islamist militants attacked Mozambique's port city of Palma. The attack occurred near the site of a gas project partly owned by Total Energies. Meanwhile, Mozambique's government claimed that 30 people died in the attack, but Alex Perry, an independent journalist who investigated the attack, said 1,402 people died or went missing, including 55 Total workers. On the foreign scene, the United Nations has said that over 260,000 people have been forced to flee their homes in the Gaza Strip as heavy Israeli bombardments from the air, land and sea continue to hit the Palestinian enclave. It noted that fierce fighting has left thousands of dead on both sides since Hamas launched a surprise assault, spurring Israel's reprisal bombing campaign. The UN humanitarian agency OCHA said around 3,000 people had been displaced due to previous escalations, adding that the bombing campaign has destroyed more than 1,000 housing units and 560 severely damaged. In a related development, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced an emergency unity government with opposition leader Benny Gantz today. According to Gaza's electricity authority in Gaza, the only power plant in the besieged enclave shut down after it ran out of fuel. Meanwhile, the death toll on both sides mounted on the fifth day of the war, with 1,055 Palestinians killed in Gaza and 1,200 Israelis, including 169 soldiers, killed in the Hamas attack. In the meantime, two Nobel winners staged a rare denunciation of Russia's offensive in Ukraine in a Moscow courtroom today, as public dissent over the conflict has been all but silenced by a wave of arrests. Oleg Orlov, the co-chair of Nobel Prize-winning group Memorial, again denounced the Kremlin's military campaign during his trial, in which he is accused of discrediting the Russian army. Reports say his friend and fellow Nobel laureate Dmitry Moranov, the editor of Russia's Novaya Gazeta newspaper, who joined Orlov's defense team, stood by him. Prosecutors have requested a 250,000 ruble fine for 70-year-old Orlov over an anti-war op warning about fascism in Russia. Meanwhile, Muratov argued against the case made by prosecutors who had brought in World War II veterans earlier in the trial to state how offended they were by Orlov's words. The charges against Orlov can carry up to 5 years in prison. In the meantime, the U.S. Coast Guard has said that more debris and suspected human remains have been recovered from a privately owned submersible which failed catastrophically in June while on a mission to the Titanic. Recall that all 5 people on board the recreational sub named Titan and operated by US-based company OceanGate were killed when the vessel imploded, which is believed to have occurred during its June 18 descent. The sub's failure was confirmed on June 22, ending a days-long rescue mission which captivated the world. Meanwhile, the Coast Guard has launched its highest level of probe, called a Marine Board of Investigation, into the accident. Some wreckage and presumed human remains were also recovered in late June. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Blessing Jackson.
Thank you, Xavier Robert. Good evening. It's business news. My name is Blessing Dixon. In the news, WTI crude prices fell nearly 3% to below $84 per barrel today, while Brent crude dropped below $86 per barrel as fears of possible supply disruptions in the Middle East due to the Israel-Hamas war started to fade. Saudi Arabia also reiterated its support for efforts by OPEC Plus to balance oil markets and measures that could bolster global growth. Moreover, Iran denied involvement in Hamas' aggression towards Israel, and the White House said it has no evidence that the country planned or directed the assault. Meanwhile, according to reports, Venezuela and the U.S. have made progress in talks that provide sanction relief to Caracas, but allow one additional foreign oil firm to take the Venezuelan crude under some conditions. Away from that, the World Bank Group President Ajay Banga has said that interest rates are staying higher for longer and can be a complicated event in many ways for the global. The annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund (IMF) and the World Bank in Marrakech, Morocco.
There's no doubt that inflation has begun to come down. I do think that interest rates will stay higher for longer. That can be a complicated event in many ways, both for investments as well as for people who over the years had got used to a lower interest rate environment. I think those are the plus and minuses there. I believe that wars are completely and extremely challenging for central banks who were trying to find their way out of a very difficult situation to a relatively soft landing.
In Africa, Ghana's annual inflation rate eased for the second month to a one-year low of 38.1% in September 2023. Inflation is typically a broad measure such as overall increase in prices or increase in cost of living in a country. Still, headline inflation remains well above the central bank's target band of 6% to 10%. Price growth softened for both food and non-food products in August thanks to a more stable cedi. On a monthly basis, consumer prices surged by 1.9% in September after decreasing by 0.2% in the prior month. In Nigeria, the Senate has adopted a motion sponsored by Senator Sunday Katung, representing Kaduna South Senatorial District, seeking intervention in farmer loss of ginger worth 10 billion naira due to pathogenic diseases. In a motion, the lawmaker called for urgent need to address the outbreak of the deadly disease affecting ginger production in southern Kaduna, which has caused a devastating effect to farmers. Katung said, ginger has been grown in the southern part of Kaduna State since 1927 and has steadily increased in its importance as a valuable commodity over the intervening years, but never witnessed destruction of this magnitude due to diseases. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. At the end of today's trading section on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a total of 410.32 million shares in 5,637 deals, corresponding to a market value of 4.45 billion naira, were traded. The all-share index inched up 115.87 basis points to close at 67,100.49 points. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 36.9 trillion naira. In the aggregate, 119 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 18 gainers and 17 losers. Thomas Watt Nigeria led the gainers with a 9.81% share price appreciation, close to ₦2.35 per share, while Omatech Ventures came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 8.33% at 44 kobo per share. Meanwhile, Naimet International Farmer recorded the highest volume of 163 million traded shares. This is all in business news, and back to Xavier Robert for the rest of the news. Good evening.
Many thanks, Blessing. Still to come in the news. Birmingham City appoint former Manchester United and England striker Wayne Rooney as manager. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. We move on now to health, where the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention (NCDC) has identified Zamfara, Cross River, Adamawa, and Ogun as the states with the highest number of cholera cases in the country. The NCDC's Incident Manager, Cholera Technical Working Group, Dr. Sebastian Yanan, stated this at the monthly meeting of the Water, Sanitation and Hygiene in the Emergency Working Group in Abuja. Yanan said the cases were updates from the NCDC's Epidemiology Week 39, noting that efforts were ongoing to provide the affected state with response commodities. The incident manager added that NCDC's intervention through cholera case management was carried out in partnership with the World Health Organization by distributing infection prevention and control kits, wash kits, and chlorine powder, among others. Still in health, the Kwara government has advised residents to disregard malicious rumors intended to create mistrust in people on routine vaccinations in the state. The State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Amina El Imam, who made the appeal during the news conference, observed that such misinformation is intended to dissuade citizens from getting vaccinated. She also dismissed rumors that the state government would use military personnel to force people to get their children immunized. The commissioner emphasized that vaccines save lives, as most dangerous, life-threatening diseases have been eradicated through them. Let's head over now to Isaac for latest sports stories.
Well, thank you so much. Well, in sports,
Birmingham City have appointed Wayne Rooney as the new manager. The 37-year-old former England captain has joined the Championship club on a 3.5-year deal. Rooney succeeds Blues head coach John Eustace, who was sacked on Monday after 15 months in charge. The ex-Everton and Manchester United striker's appointment is the first major change made by Blues new American owners Shelby Companies Limited since it took over in July. Rooney will be supported by his former England teammate and current England under-21 assistant Ashley Cole and his old United colleague John O'Shea. The assistant coach for the Republic of Ireland men's national team, Carl Robinson and Pete Shuttleworth, will also be part of Rooney's backroom staff after both assisted him at DC United. It will be Rooney's third job in management following spells at the MLS club and Derby County, and his first game will come up against Middlesbrough in October 21st. While in tennis, Rafa Nadal will make his return to Grand Slam tennis following hip surgery at the 2024 Australian Open, says tournament chief Craig Tiley. Spain's 22-time Grand Slam champion has been out of action since January and underwent surgery in June. Nadal, who is 37, has said he plans to retire at the end of the season. According to Tiley, the former women's champions Naomi Osaka, Angelique Kerber, and Caroline Wozniacki also plan to return after maternity breaks. Nadal has been sidelined since injuring his hip flexor in a second-round defeat by Mackenzie McDonald at January's Australian Open. In announcing he would miss the French Open for the first time in 19 years, the tournament where he has won 14 of his majors. In tennis, Rafa Nadal will make his return to Grand Slam tennis following hip surgery at the 2024 Australian Open, says tournament chief Craig Tiley. Spain's 22-time Grand Slam champion has been out of action since January and underwent surgery in June. Nadal, who is 37, has said he plans to retire at the end of the 2024 season. According to Tiley, former women's champions Naomi Osaka, Angelique Kerber, and Caroline Wozniacki also plan to return after maternity breaks. Nadal has been sidelined since injuring his hip flexor in a second-round defeat by Mackenzie McDonald at January's Australian Open. In announcing he would miss the French Open for the first time in 19 years, the tournament where he has won 14 of his majors, Nadal said next year will probably be the last year of his career. While Nadal is back on court, those close to him say it is too early to confirm whether he would be in Melbourne in January. Well, moving on finally to tour-level competitions, Grigor Dimitrov reached the quarterfinals of the Shanghai Masters on Wednesday after producing an inspired performance to shock top-ranked Carlos Alcaraz. Alcaraz won 3 games in a row to take the opening set, but the brilliant Bulgarian bounced back in some style to land his biggest win in years with a 5-7, 6-2, 6-4 triumph. The 32-year-old, watched on by coach Jamie Delgado, unsettled Alcaraz throughout, hitting 26 winners, including 10 assists, to defeat the Spaniard in 2 hours and 9 minutes. Dimitrov would next take on birthday boy Nicolas Jarry, who beat wildcard Diego Schwartzman 6-3, 5-7, 6-3 to advance. And these are the stories we're tracking right now. And of course, that's it on sport. My name is Isaac.
Many thanks, Isaac. Now, on entertainment news, Jada Pinkett Smith has revealed that she and husband Will Smith have secretly been separated for the last 7 years. We're still trying to figure out what the future of their marriage looks like. Speaking in an interview, the 52-year-old said they had not previously gone public with their separation because they were not ready yet. According to her, they were still trying to figure out how to be in partnership. Recall that their marriage comes under scrutiny following on the Oscars slap in 2022 when Will Smith stormed the stage and slapped presenter Chris Rock after he made a joke about Pinkett Smith being bald, who suffers from alopecia. And lastly, on entertainment tonight, United States-based music promoter Wale Babalola has accused Malian Music and Zinoliski of contract breach and seeking a refund of $45,000. Reports say Babalola, the CEO of Fathia Promotion and Entertainment, in a series of messages accused the management of Malian Music of breaching a contract for a U.S. tour involving one of the record label's artists, Zinoliski. According to Babalola, despite spending over $60,000 to procure travel documents, flights, hotel accommodation and part payment of performance fees for Zinoliski and his team to embark on the tour, which was scheduled to take place in many American cities, the record label's management failed to honor a duly signed contractual agreement. Meanwhile, Babalola added that attempts to contact the record were futile and Zinoliski was spotted in Puerto Rico, thereby violating the terms of the contract. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, Spectrum TV live.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. You have a good night rest. Bye for now.